Good morning. This is the market update. If you watch this video to the end, you will get all the information you need on Ethereum, people searching for Ethereum, and what's next, which is clearly Solana. I'm your host, Bill Noble. Subscribe to this channel because you never know when we're going live on the shorts feed or on the regular feed during the day. If you like the content, don't forget to hit the like button. Now, Uncle Sugar is at it again. What does that mean? Well, that means government spending last month has exploded. Government spending is going wild. Remember that $2 trillion big, beautiful bill? Yeah, welcome to it. Tariffs aren't paying for it. So there's a lot of money sloshing around in the system. Wow. And that's not creating inflation. Wow. And we expect, or at least the bond markets are pricing in big Fed rate cuts. Wow. And young people can't afford housing. So guess what they're going to do? They're going to want to go to the crypto casino. That means Solana and Ethereum, but really, you got to look out for this Solana catch-up rally. We discussed this earlier yesterday. Solana has a long way to go to get to the market cap of Ethereum, and that's, it could 5x. A lot of people gave up on Solana the way they gave up in Ethereum, right? And then you could just wake up one day and Solana could just be vertical. Like Solana could go to 400. But why not, right? Ethereum hasn't even broken out of, its all-time high yet. That's probably next. And it's really funny if you think about Ethereum, because there were two people who had similar but different experiences. So the president's son, Eric Trump, thought Ethereum was a great buy at 3,000, and he tweeted that out. And then Ethereum proceeded to go from 3,000 to 1,500. And everyone, kind of made fun of him. Well, I mean, he's back in the black, but obviously that move to 3,000 to 1,500 was absolutely awful. So awful, in fact, that Standard Chartered Bank, which is, a big bank that's been very into crypto a lot longer than any other banks from a research perspective, actually downgraded their target for the year in Ethereum on that move. I think it was from 7,000 to 4,000. They were like, oh my God, we have to say something about this because it's falling apart. We cannot possibly sit here and say we think Ethereum's going to 6,000 or 7,000. Well, guess what? And this is very typical. The Standard Chartered Research Analysis just changed their forecasts back to 750. Okay. And I'm an analyst, and I came from being an analyst. I worked at investment banks, so I get how these guys can get twisted around, particularly when they have to write reports and make calls, and it's like turning an aircraft carrier. But again, nobody wanted it at 1,500, but at 5,000, it's much more attractive. You have Google searches and all of that going on. Now, if you start thinking about Ethereum charts, you could make a case for, this is probably the top, or you're going to have some sort of GOD candle where it all goes up 25% in one day, with Ethereum going and then Solana and XRP and pretty much every usable altcoin. So let's take a brief moment to define usable. Is there a lending protocol on it? Can people go on a lending protocol and borrow money? And again, it may not be on Solana or ETH. It may be on the protocol, like Clearpool or Goldfinch or whatever. I mean, can people do anything with the cryptocurrency? If they can, it's going up. Because that's the kind of market that we're in. Everyone's like, oh, I want 2021 back. Well, you know what? It looks like you're getting a little taste of 2021 right now. Why? Well, because the whole system has been suppressed. And if Solana follows ETH on the breakout, then it's just up only. I mean, Solana is up 4%. Ooh. You know, Solana's got a giant cup and handle, and you've got, you've got total crypto market cap, total altcoin market caps calculated in two different ways, headed for big, big resistance levels. Now, let's talk about how the market has handled big, big resistance levels so far. Do you remember when everybody was afraid of the 200-day moving average? Ooh, right. And what did I say about that? At the time, I was like, well, you know what? If it approaches resistance and it doesn't go through it, and it just sits there right below it, and everyone sits around and waits for confirmation, by the time you get confirmation, it's run away from you, right? If something hits resistance and fall apart, that's like 2022 and FTX. If something goes up to resistance and sits there, it's 2025, right? So first it was like, oh, the 200-day moving average. Then it was, the local high from, say, July. And it's the July high. It's the May high, whatever. Seriously. You're looking at an undervalued, mispriced market. Now, when guys in legacy go, well, it's mispriced, that means it's got to go up a lot, right? Means it's suppressed, it's undervalued. You have teacups and handle, right? That's basically, two processes of forming a base. They're very catchy. They're very usable in crypto. And when they break out the way Solana is going to break out, you can have very big moves. Very big moves. Like I said, Solana is like a one chart market update, and total altcoin market cap, like altcoins minus Bitcoin and Ethereum, Katie, bar the door, right? Everyone's like, oh, well, what about XRP? Dude, what about it? Like it's about to launch in everyone's face because it's not doing anything right now. And when people say, well, my altcoin hasn't done anything, I go, good. That means it's it's probably what's next, right? And you have memes, you have the big memes moving this morning, right? But not too much, right? You have Bonk and Whiff up 5%. And can you imagine? I said this yesterday about Pepe or ETH-based alts memes. Can you imagine what is going to go on in the Solana meme coin universe? I mean, yesterday everyone was talking about Fartcoin. This is the first time I've heard anybody talking about Solana memes. There are enough articles about what's going on with young people. And right now they're Google searching for Ethereum. What's going to happen when they start Google searching for fill in the blank, right? In other words, this has been an Ethereum rally. This has been a Bitcoin rally followed by an Ethereum rally. It's been a rally, again, I don't want you to not be able to finish your coffee because you're so upset, but this has really been an ETF-based rally. Right? If you own the Bitcoin ETF, you did great. If you own crypto ETFs up until recently, you did great, right? If you own the Ethereum ETF, blah, 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 blah. Now, the crypto assets, the crypto sectors, right? Like XRP's got a little DeFi action going on today. Lending protocols. Where is Uniswap and Aave? Right? And Maker, which has been rebranded. I mean, those are three protocols that actually make money. And there was all this talk when ETH was falling apart, like when the Ethereum organization was selling ETH at 3,000 to fund itself instead of borrowing against it. The biggest Ethereum fans that I know were like, I'm so disgusted by this coin that I'm going to focus on the coins that were on that network that actually make money. Right. And I've been talking about this for several days. And the reason I keep talking about it is because, you're going to have these giant green candles in some of these instruments, because as you head into this illiquid last part of August, and I know I tell you that every day, right? This could get crazy. I mean, I've even seen YouTube videos of guys talking about, old school stuff. Like we've mentioned Polkadot. Right. And all these different coins that have been absolutely ignored. And I think that's the key. right? Everything that's been ignored, everything that no one likes is just exploding. And I know it sounds like a lot, but like Sui up 4%, Cardano up 4%. So what? Like, if you look at the Sui chart, you can't tell it's rallying. Now, I know we're in TikTok mode here, so it's tough to specifically talk about charts, but your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, that's starting to get a little stretched out on charts right now. If it just keeps going, well, that's the sign of the ultimate strength, and this whole market's going to go up another 30%. But I can definitely see a case to rotate money on Ethereum euphoria above 5,000 over into like Solana and XRP. I know you never want to get in front of an ETH freight train, because I've seen ETH freight trains and they do go, they do go beyond what you would think. So I guess maybe what I'm trying to say is you're in like the overshoot period in ETH, where everyone's like got a 5,000 target and it winds up going to 6. Okay. But it's getting stretched out, not in a sense that it's, I don't know, vulnerable to a big correction, but it is vulnerable to like sector rotation, just like Bitcoin kind of stopped at 123. ETH could stop and this could roll into, everything, right? I mean, guys were asking me about smaller coins yesterday. I'm actually a big fan of privacy. We're going to cover this later, most likely in the YouTube member area. But I don't know if you knew that Monero was, under attack by an organization that's funded by, venture capitalists from overseas. And there's a lot of weird stuff going on in the political arena. Most of it I can't get into, but I understand, like, for security purposes, the National Guard is being deployed to Washington, D.C. I think I can say that. So you have the American army on the streets, and they're talking about doing that in other places. Now, politics don't matter for the purposes of this broadcast. However, I will remind you, as I have reminded you in the past, that the decentralized future has to be built by you, starting with whatever is in your Coinbase or whatever is in your Jupiter or your MetaMask. It's not up to somebody else. It's up to you, and it matters, right? Because the big boys are doing it and doing it and doing it. Like Metaplanet. Like, one of the reasons this market is just going to go crazy is that they finally built a Bitcoin yield curve, or a Bitcoin-based interest rate. Now, I had no idea they would do it through the legacy market in something called preferred stocks. But guess what? Metaplanet is going to follow in the footsteps of MicroStrategy. They're going to turn around and do exactly what MicroStrategy did, and get as much paper as they can so they can buy as much crypto as they can. Because I'm sure if you were a Bitcoin maximalist, you're sitting around drooling over the fact that the market is exploding. The market is exploding, and Bitcoin is sitting there quietly. So if you want to know what altcoins to get involved in, we have Patreon. We have a small, a lower tier that got a list of 20 altcoins for DYOR. We have a higher tier that got a full-on portfolio. And of course, we cover small coins, and we're actually moving request-based TA over into the YouTube member area, where we're going to bring back PowerPoint. Yes, for any longtime users of the market update, we're actually going to bring back a TA presentation along with request TA. Like, I know people like that, right? Mitchell Carroll is like AERO to the moon. Oh, dude, I thought, oh, AERO's up 20%, 2 days in a row. When AERO wants to go to like $2, it kind of just goes to $2, right? It doesn't stop. And that's, that's the lesson that I learned from AERO. I'm like, wow, this thing is up again. It's up 10% again. And remember, what's the point about AERO other than the fact that our AERO crowd is happy? AERO was a leader, right? There were a couple of leaders, right? There was Bitcoin, there was Bitcoin Cash, right? And then ETH started to take off, and then it was AERO following in a big way, right? Off the Coinbase news. Now, what's the next leader? Well, ChainLink was up massively yesterday. So, you know, the layer ones, I think, are just going to start going. And anything that's new, as we've discussed in the YouTube member area, we discussed Sui, SEI, and Tau, right? We have Randy is here from Indonesia. Welcome, sir. Welcome our friends from Asia and Europe. Randy thinks XRP $20 by September. Well, sir, that would be a very epic move. And if that happened, you would unfortunately be expecting a 70% correction very soon, because that's your typical crypto ramp and then dump. I don't think we want that. I don't. I think we want crypto moving in kind of an orderly stock market manner where, you know, it's going up like 10% per week. You know, that is sustainable. Like the way Ethereum is moving, even though Ethereum is, you know, it's kind of up only, it's not going up 10% per day. It's going up like 2 to 3 or 4% per day. I know if they're, you know, I don't know. I guess there's been a couple 7s and 8s, but ETH is not completely vertical, right? You know, it's not up 20% in one day is what I'm trying to say, right? And again, you know, when you see this type of price action, you know, there's a saying from the Bitcoin literature, gradually, then suddenly. Folks, that's happening as we speak. Like I'm scrolling here down a huge list of altcoins, and you can see things that people don't like. I got yelled at for bringing up Rose once, right? That's supposedly a fast layer one, and no one likes it. And no one's touched Ondo and any of these real world asset plays. I continue to argue that anything that's useful, anything that has a use case, even if it's a simple use case, people are going to start piling into that. And something that I haven't talked about, I have talked about a Ripple merger, but we have not started to talk about institutional announcements of crypto partnerships. Like Standard Chartered was the first institutional bank today to turn around and say, hey, this is going much, much, much higher. King Kong says it's time for altcoins to do 150x. I don't think you want 150x, but what you do want is to hit the like button and stay on this stream so you know which altcoins to get after. In other words, the big question everyone's asking is, what should I do now? Now, these are the coins that some of the coins that we gave our Patreon people and our YouTube members kind of a long time ago, right? Render's up 4%. ChainLink, obviously, frankly, was a no-brainer, right? Uniswap up 4%, and Uniswap is just now breaking out. It's just now breaking out, right? Of what you would call an accumulation cone, which is something that was in, believe it or not, the first TA textbook, which was the notebook of a guy from the early 20th century. That means like the 1920s. His name was Jesse Livermore, and he wrote a book called Reminiscence of a Stock Operator. If you haven't read the book and you want to learn about investing, it was the original book. But Uniswap is breaking out of an accumulation cone. My favorite privacy coin, AIntivirus, is also in an accumulation cone. And I got news for you. The Tornado Cash guy gets 3 years. He could have gotten more for something about money transmission. Crazy. You have Monero literally under attack. Like somebody is doing a 51% attack on Monero and literally trying to just take over the blockchain. Like I spent all night on Perplexity going, hey, why would somebody do this? Okay, well, we'll go over that in the YouTube member area later. But that leaves AIntivirus. That leaves this 3 million market cap coin that has privacy gift cards, a mixer, and all kinds of functionality. And these things, when you use them, they burn the token, right? And it's like a meme coin on the original crypto maverick, John McAfee. So it's got a meme function. We have, the AI talks. McAfee, there's video. He did TikToks way before TikTok. Okay, seriously. And they're publishing those clips and they have privacy functionality. You're never getting me off that, particularly with these other two big catalysts, right? And then you probably wonder, why are you telling me about this? Dude, because privacy matters, right? Privacy matters. And, there are various political commentators, some of them that go on late at night, if you catch my drift. Dude, the world is not what you think it is. It isn't. It's a very weird place. And the only way it gets not weird, okay, is if you take control of your destiny. Now, I'm sitting here looking at Dogecoin, doing exactly what the total crypto market cap coins that we covered in the big market update yesterday. Like Doge is just now breaking out, kind of just broke out yesterday. It's just getting its game on. You realize that that's trading at 24 cents? And the next resistance that I would even take seriously is at 32 cents. And we saw this all day long, right? There was a geopolitical event, the 12-day war. Then everything crashed, right? And then the place where that crash took place, where it started, became resistance, the sequel to the 200-day moving average. But the thing is, that geopolitical event had nothing to do with crypto. So everyone's like, oh, there's resistance. There's resistance. Really? I mean, there's resistance on the chart, but do you think that event, had anything to do with crypto? Quantitative systems were all like, oh my God, the momentum's broken. It's going down. Wrong. I mean, this is the type of a market, even though this is not what the technical analysis textbook says, and you should generally not follow this, but in a trending environment like this, you actually want to buy at resistance or close to it. You don't want to buy it when it's up 50% at resistance. But if you see something moving gradually to a level like, I don't know, maybe 30 cents in Doge, just looking at it a corner of my eye, you got to watch out. Because again, these are all really big coins. They're all big coins, right? So, if you have 6 or 7 big coins breaking out all at once, that's why you stay tuned for this show. That's why you watch it for 30 minutes. And it's why you subscribe to the channel. Good luck finding a channel that's live on the shorts feed and then live later plus member content, right? Me, the Eagle King, and Toby Ward, right? Our job is to make content, and we do our job every single day. Daniel J says, Bitcoin Cash is back from the dead. Dude, anything that transmits money is back from the dead. Big Rich is here, right? The number one guy, or at least not the number one guy. There's a lot of great guys in Patreon, but, he's done some great trades over the years, right? R&R is here. Daniel J is like 5 trillion market cap next. You know what, folks? That's not ridiculous. It isn't, especially if Bitcoin got going. Now, what I'll settle for is altcoin market cap at 1.25 trillion. You got to add 250 billion to altcoin market cap. And just so you know how big that number is, total market cap in XRP is only 186 billion. So if you add $250 billion to altcoin market cap, folks, you're going to have an explosion here that's beyond your understanding. Like, you could have something insane headed into those solar and lunar eclipses in September. Again, this is just like what happened with the eclipses with the Bitcoin ETF. And oh my God, Sleazy Minx is back. Welcome back, sir. We got Brick Dreams, Bull Runner. We got all these people on the stream, and we appreciate that you are here. right? Please understand what is going on here. You're having a revaluation of the entire crypto sector. Because again, if you look at equities, it's over. And then if you look at the general public, like think about this. The general public, because I'm looking at the graph right now of total searches on Google, right? And where they project it going. But it's just getting started, right? It's at the highest level in like 4 or 5 years. Now, what is going to happen when normies all hit their Coinbase accounts all at once when ETH prints 5,000? Again, what does it mean for Solana? Everybody keeps asking me about XRP. Dude, what's going to happen in XRP when normies pick up their phone and hit it and they hit the green button? I mean, this has become not difficult. This has become not difficult. So I want you guys to be prepared, right? Because we're in the gradually mode, and then we're going to start moving to suddenly mode. And when that happens, you want to be on this stream, but most importantly, you want to be on the altcoins like, again, the Sui, the SEIs, and the TAOs. And then there could be like the Doge, Pepe, and Bonk, stuff that has not moved yet. Like, levered ETH has not followed ETH. Normally it leads. Now it's lagging. Can you imagine? Like fast-moving ETH hasn't happened yet. Fast-moving Solana hasn't happened yet. Solana hasn't happened, and fast-moving Solana hasn't happened. So what starts to occur if all this goes at once? Right? Sleazy Minx, Sui, Deep, Ray, Hype, and Avalanche. And literally, that could be the market update. Seriously, right? Because if you can get yourself in like your own version of the Magnificent Seven, which is, I don't know, how difficult is that? I mean, it is difficult if you talk yourself out of the market and start this hootenanny that you missed it. Do me a favor. Listen to the show. Listen to it for 30 minutes, because at the end of the 30-minute period today, I am going to look you in the eye and I am going to tell you, don't start this baloney that you missed it and you can't do it. Okay, maybe Bitcoin went up a lot. Okay, maybe Ethereum went up a lot. But there is the whole rest of this market waiting for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button on the way out. That's the morning market update. I will see you tomorrow.